6:36, I declare the Handle Council Finance meeting for November 2nd, 2023 open. So I'm going to turn since the meeting is a finance meeting, I'm going to turn it over to our CAO to get us started down that Mary Road to discovering the tax rate, which I'm sure we'll get to eventually.
Okay, so tax rate, we won't even get into that tonight. That will actually be budgets. Just because you guys have not had any financial statements this year, I wanted to tell you how much we have spent up until October the 27th. Actually, since then, I haven't allowed Sherry to post anything, so this is really right to the end of the month. So you have 2 copies with you. So the first copy is the actual accounts, and on the very bottom it says revenue. That's the one that we'll be looking at first. The second set of documents, when we get over further into the expenses, I say refer to the breakdown sheet. So that's what these are. So okay, we will start. So the municipal tax warrant and community funding equalization grant, they are given to us from the province, and they are right on schedule there. And on these you will see that I have put in some budget numbers. If they are highlighted in either yellow or orange, that means I'm either waiting for numbers from the province or stuff has got to be adjusted. Okay. I'll just wait for 1 second for Deputy Mayor. Carry on? Okay. So first item is the tourism accommodation levy. So for our new councillors, this is an extra tax that the Radisson Hotel has to charge, and we collect it. So we can use these funds towards recreation or tourism or anything like that. They have, so under the balance of October 27, that column, the first column is what we have budgeted, 70,000. We have collected 52,369 so far, and that is only up until August 31st because they're always at least a month behind. And so I think that we are going to be over our budget amount by at least 16,000 is what I've kind of estimated. So they had asked us if they could use some of these funds, which they are allowed to use. So as of the end of July, because that's all they have sent us so far, was 16,700 out of the 52,000 that we've collected. Make sense? Okay. So then the Upper Kingsclear Fire Department, the fire department services part of Harvey. So they have to pay us $109,266. So we have received 3/4 of it so far, and then outstanding is the 27,000, which we'll get sometime in this month or December. Kingsclear First Nations. They pay. Oh, I've got that wrong. Sorry, I've got final payment on a fire truck. Once again, the fire department services Kingsclear First Nations, so they pay us $21,000 a year for that. So community center rentals, we budgeted 34. At the end of October, we had brought in 31,000, so I think we're actually going to be over in revenue. We've got a lot of Christmas events coming up and stuff, so rentals. Parks and playground, so we budgeted 21.5, and I think we're gonna be a little bit short on that. Hamel Sports was down a little bit, but it's only like $1,300. Those are kind of hard to figure out where you don't take pre-registrations like the year before. It's just an estimate. So under other income, this is our advertising for the Hanwell Herald, our Canada Summer Jobs, seed and stuff like that. So that one also, I had budgeted about 20,000, and I think it's going to be a little bit short of that. So next year we won't budget as much. I figure that we'll budget 15 for it. Building permits, we budgeted 116,000. At the end of the third quarter, we had brought in 119, and I'm expecting this quarter to be around 25,000. So we should have a surplus in building permits about 28,000. Other office rental for Fire Station 3. So we had budgeted $1,500. We are still working on this MOU or EMO. Other people, the fire marshal, local government. We found it very hard this year because all of the power bills and all that were obviously going to the province before. They never, like, especially like phone bills and stuff, they never broke them down into individual groups or whatever. So then they just transferred them to us. And we have been trying to figure out who belongs to what phone numbers and internet lines and all that stuff. So I was talking to Jim this afternoon, and I said this weekend we're going to go through the bills again and try to find out what's going on. And same with power, like everything just kind of got switched over to us, and there was like no details on it. And I think before, like maybe the province just kind of paid the bill when it came in, but it wasn't really separated into the different ones. So for us, it makes a big difference who gets it. So there's going to be some work on that in the next week or so. But I'm estimating about 62,000 to actually come in from revenue from that, based on the sizes and sizes of the rooms and the offices and different stuff. So bank interest, I budgeted 4,000. At the end of October, we had 24,180, and I'm expecting another 9. So we're going to be over the budget by about 29,000 in bank interest. Other income. This was, we received a grant for the Upper Kingsclear Fire Department's 60th anniversary. So that was $3,000. We had some Spook Fest donations. We had a blueberry social, and then we sold the pies to staff and council and just a few refunds. So that one there, the auditors always told me kind of not to budget anything in there, because it's one thing, it's miscellaneous stuff, and you never know from year to year if you're ever going to receive any. So we have a surplus of 8,100 there. Provincial grants, we received 27,500. This was to go towards a recreation director, and this is going to be over 4 years. And the percentage keeps going down like each year. I think it's 50%, 25, goes down like and so that was an extra $27,000 that we weren't expecting, so that is surplus. And then our surplus for the second previous year, we budgeted 42, and I see a mistake right there. So that should be under your October 27th, that's where your 42,000 should be.
Instead of the 19.
Instead of the 19,818. Wait just a second, I'm going to change that.
4218 should be 0.
This should be 0, yep, because it's already been posted. Okay, so then at the very bottom, your figures should be, your budget amount is correct, the 3,838,420. Your next line would be 3,266,139.35 at the very bottom. And then for November and December, that would be 727,372.84, which leaves us a surplus of $155,092.19. This is 502. So any questions on revenue? Okay.
Just one question, Barry.
Sure.
62,000 for the fire station 3.
Yep.
Again, how did they come up with that? It's way off of the 15,000. So
Yeah, so that if I take all of the, that's kind of where we're estimating what the rent is going to be. So if I take all the people that are using that place and take it by the size of the rooms, that's what it's kind of, plus they have all the storage
right.
units.
So the budget next year would it not be similar to 60,000?
Yeah, and right now I'm just kind of, I've got it highlighted, I've got to see, so we'll adjust this budget
Yeah.
to, like, for our next meeting when we actually go into budget and we talk about these things. So probably what you guys should do is when you take this back, kind of look at what the budget, what I have suggested that budgets could be, and then make notes of anything that you think that we might want to do under that line, or if you want to increase it, decrease it, and then we can talk about it in greater length. I really wanted to just kind of make sure that we had enough money to pay all the rest of our bills between November and December, so. Okay, so your next page should be the general government page, and it starts out with the mayor's salaries and stuff. So these are right on, there's only a variance of $10 on that one. So every year for the new counselors, council has a bylaw in place that their annual increase is always cost of living plus 2%. So usually in December, I have a pretty good idea of what the cost of living is going to be, but we don't actually find out until the end of January or February, so you don't actually get that cost of living increase until usually February, and it's got retro pay on it. So mayor other, this is where we charge mileage and parking, so that is still good, and there'll be some added because of the UMMB conferences and stuff like that. The counselors' salaries, this is off because we've had a couple counselors that were gone or whatever this year. So Morgan wasn't here and Counselor Sutton wasn't here for the entire time. So that makes up that difference. Counselors, others, we didn't have anything budget, or anything expensed in here, and this is where I was wondering if you guys wanted to order your shirts and jackets, so that's why we brought them in, because you guys have budgeted, and now that we've got our full council. We've talked about it for quite a long time, but it's nice now that we've got our full council to be able to do our jackets and shirts, so we will take them out of this price. I think if everybody wants jackets, we're gonna go over that amount a little, because they're about $89, $90 each, so if we do jackets and shirts, but overall in the entire budget, there's room to do them. Professional development, this is for your conferences, expenses, any training. So this one, we've got like an extra $800 left over. No, $800 that we've gone over. And that is just estimated because I put that in for UMNB for the conference or whatever. So the expenses might not come in that high. Other legislative cost. This is where I will take out the price for the laptops, your nameplates, and I thought it would be nice if we could have our pictures done this year, where we've now got a full council. So we could make arrangements with Harvey Studios and see if they'll come in and do the pictures and stuff. So that will be that cost. So as you can see at the end of that, we still have there's 21,000. 913. Is that right? Okay, so then you have come down general administrative. This is the office staff and stuff. So you'll see that both Sherry and I's salaries, it's increased over what the budget amount was. We both, when we were appointed by the minister for the reform, I had put in a budget, but then when they did them in January, they told us how much we were going to be paid, which was this. However, then we talked about cost of living and our salary increases. Neither Sherry and I took our salary increases this year. We just did the cost of living or whatever. We just felt that we had got a good bump, and we just, anyway, so.
Still crazy people.
So then the manager's travel training. So I just completed my leadership management course from the University of Moncton. So that is where a lot of those costs are. But it's going to be a lot more. I've got 3 weeks vacation and about 140 hours overtime besides what we're going to have for this month and stuff. I'm going to try to use some of it, but I think we'll have to pay out.
And my hours are more than 59 and 45 hours of overtime.
Yeah.
And for council to know where that overtime is coming from, a lot of that overtime is being generated by the requests for information that come in. We had several.
Yeah.
I don't know what, do we have a count on that?
Of how many hours?
How many requests came in?
We're on our 25th one right now.
So these are the official requests under the request for information of the government, and they take up a tremendous amount of time, and that's where the bulk of the overtime is coming in. Because I mean, we could figure out normal overtime, if any, because your meetings and stuff like that sometimes run over. But this has been a very uncommon year with so much overtime being regulated to these our tip requests, and they're not done yet.
Yep.
There's a new one came in last week.
Yes, and then we've got another one. We got 2 more other ones. So we've got 3 on the books right now.
It's just nonstop, and again, that's, I know Terry's working evenings and weekends, getting those done, and so is Sherry. And as the councillors know, I mean, we get requests from these guys on what information we have. So, I mean, we don't get overtime, but it's very time consuming for councillors to dig through the records to find any and all correspondence that these requests for information relate to. So it's a huge expense, and the taxpayers, again, I don't know if we want to show that as a separate budget item so they're aware. I mean, it's a non-common expense, and it's a high expense for handling the taxpayers to be paying in. But anyway, that's an issue right now for sure.
Yeah. And there's just been a lot of meetings
like
as well.
Yeah.
There's
Whatever.
been a lot due to municipal reform, wouldn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too?
A lot, meetings.
Yeah.
events.
And for me, that's a lot of it. Like, I have so many meetings during the day. Like, I usually have like anywhere between 3 and sometimes 4 meetings during the day. Well, you take, 4 or 5 hours out of your day, your work still needs to be done. So that's where I'm doing it nights and weekends and stuff like that. So yeah, everybody is kind of complaining about the amount of meetings that we've been having during the days. So
We gotta try to taper them off somehow, because I mean, you're hired as a CAO of Hanwell, not to be running meetings for all the different organizations around us, so somehow they've gotta be cut back.
yeah. So the clerk's salary and the travel and training also. Okay, so then we go into office building and see where it says, see your breakdown sheet. So you go to this next package, and I should have had them in order and I don't, I'm sorry. So it's actually going to be on page 4. And it has at the top, office building, total budget $123,800. So this is where what you guys have to kind of worry about is just the final figure, but I kind of break it down so that we can keep an idea of where we are with expenses and what I've got left coming in. So the first section is equipment rentals, so that is our Laserfish, RF7, Bellboy, Hamel Stow-It-All. We had a storage unit, so anything that we rent. So we budgeted $3,100, and we are actually over that by $3,000. And a lot of that, we were not expecting the rentals for the storage unit that is for the glue, for the accessibility trail, all the glue that was left. We needed something, those big barrels, and we needed to put it in an area that was heated. So we rented a place from Mark Bernard or whatever. So there's like 1,500 of it right there. And you know what? Oh, and Laserfish. This is the $1,700. We had talked about this the other night at council. This was to do those upgrades to the cloud. So part of that is that one there, and that's why we're over in there. Next section is office equipment. So these are services with Brunnet, our QuickBooks, and laptops, printers, monitors, stuff like that. We're over our budget on that one by $3,000, and that is mostly Brunnet stuff. Once again, it's really hard to say how much we're going to have to use Brunnet to fix computers and stuff like that. So I think we will increase that budget this year. So, but we'll talk about that during budget time. So telephone and data, we budgeted 10 and we're over the budget by 4,800 right now. Most of it is Alliant, and these are part of those fire department bills. So all of that once is going to be switched around, like, because we would get one bill one month and we would kind of charge it under us. And then the next month we would kind of charge it under the fire department. But now we've got to figure out what the actual costs were and do those adjusting entries. So that one will probably end up being fine because most of it has to do with Station 3. The next section, this is like our repairs and maintenance, building contracts and stuff like that. So we actually are under our budget by 37,000 on that, and it is because we didn't hire a cleaning person to come in. And the property tax bills I just estimated because I had no idea what all of our new buildings and stuff would cost. So we actually I was over on the budget by 9,000, so we saved there. So all in all, we are at 26,484 for that section. Okay, so if you go back to your original sheets again, next one is our legal services. So we are way over our budget on that, and it is due to the code of conduct issues that we've had this year. So hopefully that will change for next year. Next is the assistant clerk. So this one here, we haven't had an assistant clerk all year. And we have hired, Emily was out on a maternity leave and has returned. However, she's only going to be with us until probably January, and she'll be out on maternity leave again. So instead of making a new category, we actually made a position for her for records management. And I just saw a bright light out there. So I'm just paying, we've already got this amount budgeted, so I've just been paying her out of this account, out of these funds here. Admin assistant, this one will be fine. We're pretty well bang on with that. And then travel training and overtime, that is fine. The audit fees, this one is right on, and as a budget for 2024, I've actually increased that because this year the auditor will have to do our whole entire entity instead of just the Hanwell portion. Okay, so then the next is civic relations. So we go back to our sheets, and it's actually the one right after this office building that we were on. So I think it was like the 5th page. So this is where we put our newsletter for the Hanwell Herald, postage, websites, any banners or anything like that that we do. So we are fine. There we're only off by $500. And like I said, these are just estimates. So under the newsletter, we budgeted $13,000. However, we get revenue in from that because we have people that do advertisements in there. So the revenue was Hanwell Herald. The revenue was like $4,700, so. So then if you go back to your other sheets again, next is your cost of assessments. This is what we get from the province, so we're bang on that one. And our tax base came in this year for 2024, and we are now over $1 billion for a tax base, which is amazing. So 1,075,502. So the regionals and collaborative services. This is the Capital Regional Service Commission. So these are mandated services that we have with them. And this year they brought us their budget, and it was turned down by their board. So they gave us an original budget, and they were asked to go back and do it at cost of living. So only a 4% raise. I think it was about 7 or 8%. So they did that, and then the board refused it, turned it down, or whatever. So in our figures for the budget, I don't think that we're going to have the figures before our budget has to go in.
Yeah, we may have, we had a meeting on that today. There was a finance committee meeting of the Regional Service Commission, and directors could sit in it if they wanted to. So right now they're going to go back. They're going to talk to the folks that voted the budget down to see if they can find out the reasoning why. Seems to be the reasoning why is they just understand where they didn't understand what the expenses were coming from. They, so that's going to be worked on. And the big thing is, of course, Fredericton has, when they vote, they carry 49% when you look at what their vote carries. So whether anything's approved or not, it really depends on Fredericton, because Fredericton and one more will either approve a budget or disapprove a budget. Now Fredericton put in the amendment they asked for, the amendment was approved, but then Fredericton voted against the budget. So that kind of sent everybody for a loop. So that's what the finance committee is working on right now. So there may be a quick resolution on it, and there may not be. It just depends on, how the talks go, see what's going on. So that's where it's at right now. There might be a quick solution, or they might have to wait another 45 days before they can put another motion forward. So
Yeah.
So right now it's kind of teetering. So we'll see what happens. But I think if worst comes to worst, we could estimate our portion of the budget with the amendment put in, because that's probably where it's going to end up anyway. And if worst comes to worst, the province will give them a budget. So, which could happen also. It's just like if we couldn't get a budget, guess what? The province will come along and give us a budget. They have the ultimate authority on budgets for the RSC 11 and municipalities also. So.
Yeah, so for these, I've highlighted them in orange for me to continue checking to see before we send in the budget. However, this is the amount using that amended rate that on the last budget. So liability insurance, we are way under on this. We had no idea. I had taken the figures that local government had given me for the fire stations and all that before we took them over. So I took those figures and hours. I had put in an increase thinking that would be fine. When we got our bill, it was astronomical. So I contacted the insurance company and local government. With them, they have bare minimum insurance policies, and they absolutely do not have any replacement costs or anything like that. So I was told that, if the fire station burns down, they write a check and they build another one, kind of thing. That isn't how we have to do it. So it really reflected badly on us because I was way under on the budget. So I think next year we budgeted $47,000 this year. Our budget, our insurance goes from June to July. So this is 47,000, and then we're prepaid 67,925 for next year. So the policy itself was like over $100,000 or whatever. So I really think that we need to increase that budget next year because we just don't have that
Luxury.
luxury of being able to
Well,
write a check.
The province, where it has so many assets, it doesn't carry insurance for the most part. They do a little bit on a few things. But most of the time, the province figures, rather than have that big insurance bill, if something happens, they can cover the cost under their insurance bill. So they have to have a lot of issues go wrong before they'd be over what it would cost to insure, so they just don't insure.
Yeah.
They've got the money in the budget that they can handle that, and we can't.
Well, I'm kind of hoping that when the UMNB conference is on, there's going to be a presentation on, we've had it already for the board, and it's from, it's called, the
RNA?
RNA,
Yep.
yes, that does a lot of municipal insurance. I know that the UMNB is certainly looking at switching to them, and they also offer to municipalities too, and from what I've seen of it, and I'm not an insurance expert, but I think we should really give it a serious look, because it seems to be, it's very popular. They're from Alberta or something like that.
I really think that we have used the same company since we started in 2014. And where it does, the policy doesn't come into play until July, I really think that we need to send out an RFP to a few companies and just see what is out there to be
And I really-
offered,
yeah.
because insurance is, you take your own personal insurance, how different you
I
can
think we
get
really
for
need to
rates.
Yeah, to do that and to look at their presentation too. I'm not sure if they're actually coming in person to the conference, or whether they're just having an online presentation, which is what he had. I think we should take a really serious look at it, because it's considerably less.
Yeah.
For an example, they were giving us a few examples of things, and they're saying, for example, to insure like a truck, like a half-ton truck, is like $120 a year compared to, $1,000 or whatever you normally pay for that type of thing. So I mean, I think they're really, and they have different, some different things too I found interesting. One was, say you had a group in the community that you didn't own the building, but they were doing programs for you. You could actually insure them under an umbrella clause in there too. Not that we have a lot of that happening, but there's a lot of different possibilities that come with this one too. So I think we should at least give it a really good, serious look when we get a chance.
Do you know if they do with cyber insurance too?
I forget, honestly. I know we talked about it, and I forget.
We do have cyber with
Yeah, we
this
do with
company.
that, so I'm saying, so
Yeah.
whatever we go to, if we do change it, we gotta make sure that we get that coverage too.
Yeah.
Because ransomware and stuff like that's rampant right now, right?
Yeah.
I know they were talking about, a lot of the companies are dropping cyber insurance now.
Really?
Yeah. Now, and I honestly don't remember for sure that they have included in this one, but we'll get all the information before we make any decisions. Or
Okay.
Okay, so the next one is our municipal association membership. So that is UMNB for you guys and the AMANB for us staff. So there was only a difference of $43 on that one.
Won't that go up more than that because it's based on head count?
Not too bad. I've already got it in for UMMB. They were pretty well staying the same, and then ours I just estimated at 1,300. So I don't see a big difference, because usually it goes like by say 1 to 20 people or stuff like that. So we'd still be under it, like for staffing and stuff, especially with the AMANB
Right.
kind of thing. So, but UMNB, they've already sent us, and that is what the figure is going to be, the one in red. So
Okay.
I should probably, this week, I'll probably have the one from AMANB.
I'm also wondering if we should be looking again, or finally, we haven't looked at it in a long time, is joining FCMB.
Yeah.
We had talked about this last year, and you guys had thought that there wasn't any need of it.
I think it's.
They have got
I
a
think it's a very
ton
good
of
thing,
courses and stuff, that a lot of free seminars, but you have to be a member. of them, and they have had so many this year that I've wanted to attend, and one of the other CAOs, they're like, just come over to my office and sit there or whatever, but they also have a lot of toolkits, so stuff like HR toolkits that you can use, but once again, I can't access them because I'm not a member.
Won't they also help with federal grants and stuff too?
Yeah,
Excuse me.
And I know anyone from other communities that have gone to, because everybody on the board, if UMB,
Yeah.
has gone to their conference, because they're all members mostly, as far as I know. And they're saying that they've found their conferences so beneficial to the
Yep.
information they've gotten back, so.
I
think
don't know of many municipalities except for us that are not
I know,
members.
yeah, I don't know of anybody else who's not either.
There's a lot, like I would say probably a good 75% of our municipalities are members
I think it'd be well worth your while.
of them. I think the fees are around 5,000.
I'm not sure what the fee
Or
is.
whatever. I've got it. I didn't put it in because I didn't think
I
that you
think we
guys.
should look into it, I think it'd be money well spent. to tell you the truth.
I agree.
Okay.
Maybe they could do a presentation on advantages of belonging to their organization. Might be worthwhile. They probably do a Zoom conference or something. I mean,
Okay.
they're always looking for new members.
We're sold already.
Sell the rest of it.
Yeah.
We've been sold for a few years.
Okay, so the next one is the general admin, and so we're back down into our breakdown sheets, and it's right under the civic relations where you were. So this one, it looks like I'm over the budget, the whole total by 9,000, but as you can see, I've got to be adjusted on quite a few of these, so I've got to really get into this section of it. The pensions were over because we pay 7.41% of our pay goes into pensions, and Sherry and I both had those increases that we weren't expecting. And we also WorkSafe, that was a little higher than what I was expecting, but WorkSafe is based on like our contracts and number of employees and stuff like that, so it's just an estimate. So we were off by 2,500. Payroll expenses, I don't think that we're going to be off on that. I've got to look at those as well. And then 1,600, we are over under our TIPA. We ended up having to buy an Adobe program, plus all the extra paper and USB stuff. So those things we did track, but our hours we didn't. We will in the future for those, and we'll put them all under here so that we can see what it is. So the rest of it is just advertising, office supplies, and stuff like that. So I'll have a better figure for you at our budget meeting where this falls. So back in your other sheets, so grants for organizations and teams. Councillor Kraus, are you still there with us?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Pretty quiet listening.
You don't hear any snoring.
Yeah. Okay, so grants for organizations. We budgeted 8,000. We spent 4,700. But I'm just wondering, would you guys like to donate like $1,000 to a family for Christmas, or to our food bank, or just leave it as us not using that much? We can certainly think about it, and we can talk about it at our council meeting.
We haven't made our Remembrance Day donation yet, have we, to the Legion? We usually do that every year, and I don't remember voting on it.
No, that is coming, that was the letter, and it's coming forward at our next meeting, wasn't it?
It'll be after Remembrance Day, but.
Yeah, it's still,
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, we could even put it forward onto the special meeting. Cause we've gotta have the inauguration on this Tuesday, and then, to make it actually official for you guys, then there's gotta be this special meeting, so we could,
And then we're doing a budget meeting too that night.
yes,
Yeah, okay.
yep. So we could put it on there then, for both. So if you wanna make a note for the Remembrance Day and maybe for this,
And we can think on the other, it sounds like a good idea, we have money left, left near the end of the year.
yeah. Yeah, we've got,
Councillor Fox has a comment?
yes,
So, well, I imagine, I mean, usually December, I know it kind of screws up the budget, but usually December is when you get a lot of requests for donations from charities
Yep.
and stuff, so would that not use up the rest of that? Like,
yep, so, yeah, like I can say that we're gonna use the whole
Well, I think we
balance left,
should. I think
and
we should. That's what it's
we
for.
certainly could.
I just imagine we'll get some more, some more requests in. Shelters usually send something out at that
Yep.
time of the year as well.
Didn't
Those
Greener
are different.
Village,
I
Yes,
think so, yes.
yep, they did
Greener
last year.
Village, yeah.
Okay, so I will change this to 3 to 8.99. This is going to be 0. Okay. So then under general services, we had budgeted $3,000 we thought for the strategic plan, and we didn't get our strategic plan done. However, I was told that we're more or less looking at a $15,000 range. I don't think that I know, I've talked to a couple of people and they said there's just no way that we can do a strategic plan between now and Christmas. So I think that we should just budget for it for next year.
Does that include the vision plan or something? There was like two things we were supposed to look at.
Yeah,
No,
like,
the operational plan as well.
yeah, so I think we should budget for all of them. Okay, so any questions on general? So right now, general government, we are at like 20, oh no, sorry, cause I just changed that operating, so, we were off on that budget by $228. Instead of the 2457 that I've got at the bottom, it's 228.44. Okay, so the next section is protection, transportation, and environment. So this one for fire station, Chief Kraus and I went over this quickly today, and him and I will sit down more to go over the budgets before we have your budget meetings. So in your breakdown sheets, if you flip to the very next page, these are all your fire department expenses. Okay, so first one is administration. So there's the budget of $42,050. So this is their membership fees, workers' comp, their accident insurance, radio license, and firefighting compensation. So this one here, they're going to have about 16,000 left over out of that budget, so unless they can come up with something, but those things are once again kind of estimates. So then, back in your regular things, these are your stipends, and we'll be paying those out. So they get paid for the amount of training, the hours of training that they do, and they always budget a certain amount, and then they're paid out accordingly. So Chief Kraus brought in the list. They have approximately 50 firefighters. So we will do up those. The next one is your firefighting force other. This is your travel expenses, recognition, stuff like that. They budgeted 12,000. They've only spent 600, and we thought maybe they might spend another 6. So Chief Croce is thinking that that can be reduced greatly for next year. So I just put in, when I did it, I had just put in the same figures kind of thing, and then I'll let him and I go over and change them. Next one is the fire alarms. So that one we budgeted 4,500 and we spent like 1,600. So there, that one can also, that one I did reduce to about 2,000 for next year. So station and buildings, so we're back into our breakdown sheets. So this one is a budget of 130,000. And this one is, if you look at your bottom total, it says that we're over by $6,870. However, we put the epoxy floor in that expense under the repairs and maintenance, and that was $34,000. If something happens and they end up needing these budget figures in here, I will move that from there under our capital expenses. Okay, so right now I knew that they were going to still have money left in their budget, so I just plunked it in there, but we can move that out, and because obviously it is a capital expense, so that can be moved, and that would give them an extra $34,000. Does that make sense at all? Okay. Do you want to go down through all those things, or just kind of look at the final numbers? I don't know how much detail you guys really want to get into, and if you've got any questions, certainly speak out. Once again, like the telephone and the power and stuff, those are going to be adjusted because, like I said, some of them have been charged 2 hours because it's all on the same bill. So we'll get those figured out so that you have a true number. It's going to still be, at the bottom number is going to be the same. It's just where it's allocated to. Okay, so back in your regular sheets, training and development. This one, I've got it so that they're actually over their budget by $155. It probably won't be, because the chances of them using exactly $5,000 between November and December for conferences and stuff. And we put their Christmas banquet in this section just because there was money left over instead of just putting it elsewhere. So just keep in mind, like, all of these individual lines, they really don't matter. It's like your final total. That's what government looks at to make sure that your final totals are in line or whatever. But the individual, like, we can kind of move money in about those line items. So the contractual agreement, we purchased a fire truck from the Kingsclear First Nation quite a few years ago, and the final payment was $6,000, so we paid that off this year, so that isn't going to have to be something that we budget for next year. We'll probably have to budget $1 million for a new fire truck, but we won't have to do the 6,000. Okay, so next one is other fire services. We're back into our breakdown sheets. So this is where The health consulting fees are paid out of the 60th anniversary, snow removal for the dry hydrants and the Christmas lights.
If
So,
anybody wants to know, we moved on to the next page.
pardon me?
We moved on to the next page, we're trying to find that.
It's
No.
back, very back
Yeah.
page.
Yeah.
Last page. For the breakdown.
Yeah,
items is on
breakdown
last
sheets.
page.
Oh, sorry, I guess I was already there. Sorry. Okay, so as you can see, under the 60th anniversary, we budgeted 5,000. They actually spent 9,200, but we received a $3,000 grant. And if something happens, a lot of that expense right there, they bought jackets and shirts. So Chief Kraus was saying we can always move that up under clothing if we needed to, kind of thing. But our bottom line is still fine. So snow removal, those contracts were just awarded and stuff. So they are all good. And the Christmas gift cards, we always got those before their Christmas banquet on December 3rd, I think.
Eighth,
And second?
eighth, I think.
Eighth?
Ninth, yeah.
That's the 9th, December 9th, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Saturday night anyway. Yeah, it is the ninth. Yeah,
Okay.
it's Friday's the eighth.
Yeah, it's 9th.
Okay.
December 9th.
So back in your regular sheets, EMO disaster control. We budget $5,000 yearly on that. It is not something that we have to do, but it's something that the auditor has suggested to us. It's a good thing to do just in case anything happens. So we always budget it, and at the end of the year, it's just put over into our capital reserves if it's not used. So the next one is the dispatch services. So we get charged $53,200 for the dispatch services. And those numbers I get from the province and the city of Fredericton. EMO training for our committee, we budgeted $3,000. We always put a budget in there because we never know when we're going to have to activate and we're going to need food and everything else for our committees. We had only spent $436, but I'm thinking that we should use maybe $1,000 and get emergency supplies. So we had talked last year and we said, you know, it wouldn't be a bad idea to, because if we have to activate, we're really not supposed to leave when we have an emergency, so our committee has to stay here. So we thought it would be good to get a tote tub, put some towels and face cloths and shampoos and stuff like that. So we've got our showers and everything here, so at least we would have some stuff. And it wouldn't hurt to maybe have some extra things, because if people ever had to evacuate and had to do it quickly, a lot of times they don't always think to have this. So if we had them in a tote tub and had extra shampoo and stuff, at least they can have showers. I know the Red Cross would certainly come in and stuff, and even if we had it as a warming shelter, you never know when somebody's going to come and they might not have thought of everything. So I thought where we do have it in the budget, that maybe we should possibly take $1,000 of it and pick up some supplies and stuff, and we can just leave them on the shelf out in the garage or something. I'll see how we are closer to the end of the year if there's money. So our next line is our EMO services. So this is our alert system. So we were using Sentinel, which was $4,000. We had switched to Voyant, and so that is why we are over, because that was an increase of $1,500 from our Sentinel. And we had to change because Sentinel they stopped doing the programming.
So how come the budget for 24 is only back down to 48?
extra money was because we had to do.
A setup,
Set
like
up, and
transferring
they transfer
everybody
all, yeah.
over.
Okay.
So next is animal and pest control. So once again, these figures are given to us from the province. This one is over the budget. They gave me this price, and then when they sent out their first invoice, they put HST on it. So I contacted them and I said, this isn't the correct amount. And they were like, oh, well, we forgot that about HST. And I said, but, you know, all of us budgeted what you had provided us for figures, kind of thing. So then they went back to the minister and said, you know, we'll absorb the rest of the HST on them. So that happened on quite a few of our contracts. So that is why it's over the 283. And I think when this invoice comes in December, this $283 credit is supposed to be on it or whatever. So we'll see. Okay, so that one there, we have a difference. So it's, we've saved $96,000 on fire services from what we've spent and what I'm estimating. So unless something happens. I know Chief Crouse said today that he has found that box for the back of a truck that he was thinking about, and he was going to budget for it for next year, but I said, you know, like maybe we should do it out of this year's budget, and then he doesn't have to do it for next year. So he's going to look into that. So any questions on fire department? We're kind of going a little fast through these, but okay, so transport services. So this is our streetlights and contributions from the Capital Regional Service Commission. So, excuse me, we had budgeted $150,000 for the transportation study. I have left it as being a variance because I don't know if we can have this out and back and have somebody hired for us, so it might be something that we're just going to have to put over into our capital reserves or whatever. So streetlights, so I have this highlighted in yellow because once again there's some accounts that need to be adjusted on that. It's not going to hurt the bottom line because if it's just not allocated in one line, it is in another's, but I just got to tidy them up some, so we should have about $6,400 left from that. Once again, those ones are kind of hard to adjust because I wasn't exactly sure what Kingsclear was going to be, or I think it's Vesey Road or Brockway or one of those roads over there. It has street lights. So street signs, we budgeted $1,500. We actually spent $4,300, and it was $4,100 to fix our electronic sign out here. So that is why we're over that amount. But I did think that we should possibly budget $75,000 for 2 of the Welcome to Hamwell signs.
We weren't able to get the grant for that?
Possibly, but if you
Yeah, if we don't.
if you don't, then at least you've got money in the budget for it.
Good idea. I just didn't know if we heard yet or not.
That'd be 2 new signs spaced at Kingsclear, if anybody's curious. Like leaving the city, coming into Hanwell, and coming down the old Trans-Canada into Hanwell.
So the next 2, those are mandated services, and as we discussed before, I'm just using the amended figures from the Capital Regional Service Commission's budget. So this may change before the end of the year. But right now we've used what we had budgeted for. So for this one, under transport services, we have actually got a surplus of 153,000, and it's because of that transportation study. Okay, so moving down to environmental. So this one is our Hanwell contract for solid waste. That's with BMI. The Kingsclear one, we had to wait until this year to budget for it because they capped their contract. So for the new counselors, they told me that their contract expired in January. So I thought, okay, we will send out the tender so that we have the figures for the entire entity. Then we were told the other day that it's actually not until January 31st. So at the last council meeting, we made a motion to extend our contractors by 1 month or whatever, so that they will still do January, and then we'll have to do the tender for the new year for everybody.
When will that go out?
I am waiting to, it needs to go out, it needed to go out like last week by the latest kind of thing. However, waiting to find out, I'm trying to find out how many houses there are, how, like what streets they are and stuff, and I'm still waiting for information. Nobody seems to be able to give me this information.
So I'm
So,
surprised, we've got basically a population of what, roughly 5,000 in Hanwell, of the old Hanwell, and 2,500 in the old Kingsclear, and yet the budget for Hanwell's 189, and the budget for Kingsclear is almost as much.
you've got to remember, one is BMI, one is Faro.
Lift,
Yeah, but-
So,
Firo.
so if you remember from previous years,
Yep,
Bids,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Farrell's been charging a lot.
or whatever, so. So the tipping fees, these are, we had budgeted 228. I've actually budgeted a little bit more this year. Recycling is changing come May. I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work. We will no longer be responsible for recycling in New Brunswick. A company called Circular Matters is taking over the recycling for everybody. So they are going to be doing the collecting. There's certain things they're taking, certain things they're not. A lot of stuff you're going to have to take yourself to landfills and stuff like that. I can see that a lot of people are probably going to go, you know what, I'm just going to put it in the garbage kind of thing. So
Yep, 100%.
I have increased our tipping fees for that reason. We might not have to use it.
Maybe a fee based cost per tonnage, isn't it? Or-
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yes.
I just didn't understand what that actually
Yeah.
was. Okay.
So it's based on our tonnage. So this one is kind of going to be a guessing game for the first year. And then maybe by 2025, we'll actually have some idea of how the recycling program is going to go. So once again with recycling, I had to keep the contract that that the province had for Island View and Kingsclear. Both of us actually use Faro. I think Faro is about the only one that actually does recycling. So our tender is ready to go out on that one as well. So I was talking to local government yesterday because they sent me in an amount for recycling, and I said I thought that we were doing recycling this year up until May, and she was like, no, Capital Regional Service Commission does the recycling. So I'm very confused. So I've got to look into that because that is the first time I have ever
Yeah.
heard tell of that for Kingsclear and Island View, so I've got to make sure before I add them into our tender, if we don't have to, so. The reform has been wonderful, but it's been also very interesting of how we were talking about that with City of Fredericton today, and we're like, it seems like some contracts they're giving us, other contracts they're not. Some are, you're gonna have half of them, and then it gets very confusing, so.
I know the CRC, or the Capital Region Service Commission, they bill us for the recycling.
Yeah.
So they must do the yeah.
But I figured that we would be taking it over come January, or whatever, so.
Right.
So are we just gonna get a bill for this new company in May, or how's it gonna work?
Nope, we won't have anything to do with recycling, so all we have to do is budget until May for recycling, and then
The province?
the province must be doing it from then, so we'll have no say in recycling whatsoever.
But we'll be paying.
Nope. We are paying up until May, and then there's no cost to us. We'll probably be paying through other,
Something
For
else,
tipping
yeah.
fees.
no, we'll be paying through property, like not property taxes, but like your regular 15% and,
Yeah, well,
like your.
somewhere else, we're not gonna get
Yeah,
it for free,
we-
yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The government will, but,
They're gonna
it's-
utilize, okay,
Yeah.
all that extra money that they're sitting on, 1 million or whatever.
but yeah, so for our budget, we only have to budget up until May. So,
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense that the province is gonna take on the expense that we've been paying for. I'll believe that when I see it.
We're gonna pay for it.
We're gonna pay for it.
we'll pay for it some way,
Cost cuts that might,
income tax,
that they won't be paying as much because, yeah.
there'll be something. So our total protective, transportation, and environmental, we have a surplus of 278,000 for total. So then if you go to the next page, this is our environmental development. So, once again, this is our local planning. This is different than our mandated services. These are, because we do not have all the staff, we use the Capital Regional Service Commission, like for our bylaw officers, for inspections, for our building permits, any planning, stuff like that. So this is the fee that we are charged by them. So last year it was 323,000, and it's being increased for 2024 to 351,930. Beautifications and rehabilitation of land. So this is where we buy flowers and shrubs in our community parks. So many of our parks we were actually doing renovations to this year that we didn't do flowers and shrubs. So I really think, especially with the price of shrubs and stuff, we should maybe increase that to 2,000 this year, because we've also acquired more parks and stuff. The BMX design, so we budgeted $20,000. This has already been paid, however, the check was written out of our gas tax funds, and designs can't be, so I've got to do that transfer. So I'm going to transfer it out of this budget amount.
The design was like 5,000 or something, wasn't it? Yeah.
No, it was 20, wasn't it? Or we've got,
No, the design was 5,000
Five.
for the original thing, and then we budgeted the building fund for the rest of it was for the cost of materials we're gonna pay this year and the labor next year. So we can't split that up, is what they're saying?
no, that stuff you can take, just the design part of it, we
Okay.
can't take.
The design was only 5,000 or
Okay.
something, we paid that, I thought, earlier in the year.
Yeah, it was paid, but it was paid out of gas tax, so
Oh,
I'm
okay,
just,
yeah.
I've gotta switch the money
Okay, yeah.
back, yeah. Okay, yeah, I've got it highlighted in orange anyway to look at. So next one is your contributions for social development. So once again, these are mandated services, and I have put in the amount from the amended Capital Regional Service budget. So 2023 it was $3,297. This year it's $8,893. The mandated services have grown a lot. Next one is for economic development, and that one actually went down this year. It was $55,153, and it went down to $41,984.
Does everybody know what these mandated services, where they come from? Ever heard of them before? Probably not.
No, sorry.
This comes from government reform, and government in its infinite wisdom downloaded many services down to the municipalities, such as tourism, such as economic development, such as community development. There's about 7 or 8 of these mandated services that they just said, here, you guys are going to be looking after this. Now, that's not all of tourism and all of economic development. They still run tourism and they still run economic development. They're departments that they have. But this was just pushed on down to the municipalities for their contribution. And there's no choice in the matter. It was mandated, meaning it was legislated. So these services had to be picked up by the local governments. And some of them are being picked up by, economic development was contracted out to
What was that? Ignite.
And tourism was contracted out to Fredericton Tourism. So Fredericton Tourism is now regional tourism because it covers the tourism for all the 14 entities, and Ignite's doing the same thing. But all this transportation and all these other ones are all basically being looked after by the Regional Service Commission. So they're tagging us with an amount based on our tax base and our population, what we have to pay on those.
Yeah, and come January, additional services will be downloaded in some of those areas. So for example, under the social development stuff, poverty
housing.
reduction and homelessness, and housing, affordable housing will all be downloaded to the Service Commission, which is essentially us.
Yeah. Okay, so the next line is other. This is our decorative lighting. I've got it highlighted in orange because I want Dan to check all of our, we're going to be doing our Christmas tree lighting, so I want to make sure that all of our lights are working. We know that we need a bunch. Yeah, we do, so.
Pretty much did last year by the end of it.
So I didn't put in an estimate because I have no idea what it's going to be yet, so.
They should scrap most of those and get new ones because you couldn't even see half the tree
Oh,
last year.
it was bad by the end of it.
Yeah. So currently the way I have our expenses plus our estimates, we still have a surplus of $14,155 for that category. So next section is recreation. So we have our recreation director, and there is a slight variance in that because they didn't start right at January the 1st. So the recreation students, they were right on. As you can see under the budget amount, this needs to be budgeted. I want to talk to our recreation director. We now have MOU with the school, so we are going to have more to do with the school and activities and all that. So it could be that we might have to get 2 summer students for recreation this year. One for kind of to keep here and one for over there for events and stuff. So I want to, this budget figure may change. Next one is our buildings operations officer. And that one is pretty well bang on. Next is our community center. So you are in your breakdown sheets, and that is on community center. The very first 3 pages, first 2 pages. So first one is like our furniture and fixtures. This one. 33, 13. So we've got about 6 16,000 that is left.
Ice maker.
Isn't that funny? I was thinking of an ice maker, but then it was like,
How
we
many
don't.
years have I said ice maker? We need one, very badly.
It's a nice maker, maybe.
Just like a big commercial thing with the.
Where would we put it?
I want one in the kitchen too.
Well, they're not necessarily all, they're not monsters anymore, I mean, they're,
Yeah, that was the only thing with space. We probably would have to get rid of our deep freeze.
And that would be used in that
And we
kitchen
use the
for
deep
red
freeze
use
a
as
lot.
well.
yeah, but
Yeah.
deep freeze, I mean, it's not a big deep freeze, we can, I'm sure we can find a place to put it.
Yeah, so that's something that we can. So yes, if there's anything that you guys can think of that we might need or you want to buy, let me know, like, so that we can, if we need to find pricing, that we can, but so that we have it for the budget.
Did you hear that, Lee?
Councillor Kraus?
You were looking,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go sleep there.
remember this morning you were looking for things to get prices on? Ice maker.
Now, it's noisy, it's the house, kids been running around, so I don't know, so, but I just,
Okay. Yeah, so Councillor Kraus, if you want to research an ice maker,
Commercial ice maker.
Yeah, something to do in your copious free time.
he tech.
He texted me at 9 o'clock this morning, what else can I look for?
Yeah. So kitchen supplies, our linens, tables, folding chairs, stuff like that. I've estimated stuff because I want to check with the Upper Kingsclear Community Center just to see if they need anything at the hall in there. So,
Someone here could probably tell you that.
yeah. Yeah, Councillor Kraus, you might be able to tell us that. Like, do you need tables and chairs and stuff at the center?
well, some of we'd throw probably 20 or 30 chairs there at the beginning of the year because they were broken and they're not fixable.
Like those,
Problem is trying to match them. You know what I mean? Like wicked cloth or cloth cushion chairs. I don't even know where you get them anymore.
I don't think you can. They're
Oh,
they're
yeah.
almost like an old office chair. They're not even really a.
Oh, yes, I know.
Yeah, because what I had mulled around with Brittany from ELG was we would just donate the chairs that are there. I think there was like 40 or 60 or something like that, and was going to donate them to the church across
Right.
the road, and then we could just replace them.
Okay.
So why don't we? What about the banquet chairs that we have here? Something similar to that.
Yeah,
Just a black basic banquet chair.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's a good idea to do that. I mean, we're renovating the community hall there. We're putting in a new kitchen, and then if you kind of have mixed match furniture, it
Yeah.
kind of takes
Yeah.
away from it. And if we've got the budget for it, we'll look into we'll look into that.
Okay.
Okay. Under the miscellaneous, we budgeted $1,000. We've already spent $1,900. This is for fees. We get charged if any of our rentals use music. So we get charged for that, so we're gonna have to increase
But we
that
recoup
budget.
those fees back.
We do, but it just shows, like,
Oh.
that would be in revenue
Right,
kind of
okay,
thing,
yeah,
but
yeah.
under the expense it shows, so we might as well,
Put it
get
down
that,
right.
yeah. So we had picnic tables down here as a line item. We didn't get picnic tables, but we did buy shelving for the storage units, so I just put it in there. Clothing allowance, I've estimated in $300 because I thought that staff would, like Dan and Taylor and stuff, might want jackets and shirts, so we can take them out of that price. So we'll keep the ones for council out of the council's budget, and we will take these ones out of this one. The next one is the community center repairs and maintenance, So that one is fine. We budgeted 20,000, we've used 8. Sorry, what did you say? Oh, sorry. And the grounds, we didn't have any issues. So right now, it looks like we've got about a surplus of 16,000 in that one. So back in your regular sheets. Next one is training for the recreation director and the buildings operations officer, and they didn't do anything this year, so we will leave that. The Parks and Playground summer students, we budgeted 23, we used 20,000, and we received $9,675 from Canada Summer Jobs and Seed, so that offsets that a little bit.
I have a question. Should we budget more? Because we're gonna have, we might. need
Yes,
more
that's why
students.
it's in orange. I've got to
Okay.
talk to Taylor because we're going to need additional students this year. So then you go back to Parks and Playgrounds. So that is on the next page. So this is our lease, boardwalk, equipment purchases, your gas and oils, dog bags, park maintenance, snow removal for here, playground land and heritage building. Most anything for playground and all of that stuff we can take out of our gas tax funds. This is just kind of anything extra. So as you will see, under equipment repairs and maintenance, why was that? We budgeted 4,000 and we spent 5,200.
That's probably the cost of gas.
Yeah, that's true. We had to get our side-by-side and stuff fixed, and there was a few things in that, but it was all equipment repairs.
Yeah, that bill alone was $4,600 or whatnot.
Yeah, it was.
It is a Polaris after all.
Yeah. And the vehicle repairs and maintenance for gas and oil, we had budgeted 25. It came in at 58. We are over by that because after our catalytic converters were cut off the truck, we asked, yeah,
Oh, I know.
we asked Dan that it lives handy if he would take the truck home every night, so it's the extra in gas going back and forth instead of it more or less just kind of sitting here, but it certainly was cheaper than having to buy catalytic converters again. And
Maybe because the vehicle's a Ford, but we won't go there.
It's another strike against it.
Ready John, that was increased because we put in additional porta potties at the parks. We put one out, David Bell, didn't we? And Ralph Gorman and here.
And the school.
And the school.
For handball sports.
Or whatever, so that's the increase in that.
Oh, sorry.
Don't,
I just had a question.
sure.
Remember we had talked at one time about possibly replacing side by side with like one of those gator things?
Yep.
Is this the time we would? look
So
at it
as
for
soon
next
as I get down to our summary,
time? Oh, yeah. You
I'm
got in there?
going to suggest a few things.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we've only got a couple more. So the next one is our recreation building, school, and the MOU. So with school's MOU, we have to pay for gym supervisors and the janitor for any time that we are putting on events over there, or if anybody wants to use that after school and stuff. We thought that we were going to have this in place before this. So we had budgeted 18,000 for that, and we didn't use any because the MOU still is in the works. It should be finalized this week. They sent Taylor and I an email yesterday. So recreation agreement. So this is the recreation agreement with Ludford and with Hanwell. So it is based on the tax base. So we had 217,549 was the cost. They tell us what the cost is, so we were off by 53 cents. So this year they've given me the amount for Ludford's. We have been in talks with the city of Fredericton and the minister to see if Kingsclear and Island View can join and not wait that 1 year. So City of Fredericton called me today to see if the minister has got a hold of me yet. They didn't think that he would probably contact me because the agreement's actually between the City of Fredericton and the province, but she just wanted to check. So they're going to look into that. Both of us have sent in letters saying that we want to go into this. And so they were suggesting that just in case this doesn't happen before December 31st, that we should figure out what that cost is, put it in our budget so that we have it. And if it doesn't, then us and the City of Fredericton can make some kind of arrangements, but at least our residents will be able to use the service and we'll already have it budgeted. So I'll figure out what that amount is going to be, so we'll budget for it for the entire Hanwell entity or whatever, if that's okay with you guys. I just think that we might as well budget for it if we can. It doesn't, she said, like, the agreement clearly states if there's any change and it's all agreeable between the two parties, that it, or three parties, and can't imagine that the province is going to say no when we want to do it and City of Fredericton wants to do it as well. So
Well, what they told us, the province is out of the agreement anyway.
yeah.
So it's just up to the City of Fredericton and us. So
Yeah.
shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, I thought we had agreed already, like a month or two ago.
Yeah, we did. We wanted to, but where the agreement isn't in place yet, I just think.
It would have to be amended because the minister is still the
Yeah,
signator on it.
yeah. So, but I think that, I mean, the budget's gotta go in, so we might as well budget for it, and if something doesn't happen,
Yeah.
then,
Oh, surely they
Yeah.
wouldn't, yeah,
exactly.
surely they wouldn't.
So everybody understands that whole recreation thing? That's our whole, in, Bring low?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
Oh, there'll be some that won't be.
Oh, I'm sure, I know that.
Yeah.
But, I think by and large, it's a very good thing.
yeah. So the next one, once again, is that contribution to the Capital Regional Service Commission. So last year it was $746 for recreation and culture. This year it's going to be $4,043. So it's one of those things where we can't do anything about. So
I brought my glasses on, I thought that was beer culture.
you thought it was what?
Beer culture.
Oh,
Culture. Yes, that's culture.
That could work.
okay. So next one is recreation and culture. So we're back down into your breakdown sheets. So these are just the events that we kind of put on. As you can see, we are over the budget by $2,100. But $1,460 of it, or sorry, $1,413 of it is in revenue from the golf tournament. So people, for Hanwell Days, people paid us to pay golf, but then we had to pay Kingswood. So we've got the money, it's just not showing here. I wish we could offset them, like if we get the money in, I could just take it off of this expense, but we're not allowed to to do that, so it just looks like we're over by 2,100 when we really aren't.
Still pretty darn close.
And same with, you've got it under other recreation events, you can see where we're over by 2,700. That was an expense to Harvey Studios for the handball sports pitchers, but we had revenue of pictures of 3,479. So, I mean, this really isn't, we're really not over the budget kind of thing.
We're actually under budget.
Yeah. Okay, so if you don't have any questions on,
I have a quick question.
sure,
So, under the recreation culture, like the breakdown sheet?
yeah.
Under Handwell Days, you have,
Yeah, so it was 5,000 was the budget. We spent 6,074, so 1,460 of it is the golf tournament. And then you guys said the Handball Days money could go towards the 60th anniversary.
right,
So the fireworks came in at $5,214.
for the fireworks alone?
Yeah.
Okay, but, so then when we have the 60th anniversary over here, it doesn't need to be in this section? Like with the fire
Well,
services? Do you know what I mean, or does it matter?
No, because you guys, I wanted it to show that, because you guys said that to use the Handball Days
Right.
budget, so I wanted to put a budget amount to the Handball Days
Okay.
thing.
Okay.
See what I mean?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep, and the other question then that I have, just in regard to Handwell Days,
Mm-hmm.
is we talked about at council for next year, because it's gonna be like 10th. to
Okay.
do something a lot bigger, so I'm just wondering if that's gonna have to be changed, the amount.
Oh, the 7 and put it
Yeah.
higher?
Might not be enough, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Okay, like put maybe 10?
10.
Okay, yep. Okay,
Because it'll certainly be a lot bigger, because we'll have events going on both in Hannibal and the former Kingsler LSD.
And I think the idea was to have like different things, not maybe just one big, but to have different things from different
Throughout the
months.
year
That
or
was
whatnot.
kind of in strike a committee, right?
like have it on the same day, but just have
No.
different things?
No.
Oh, have it all throughout the year?
The discussion was like maybe having like monthly
Yeah.
or every couple of months having something big to
Oh, okay.
celebrate. That was the discussion that was.
Right.
But there was
I-
a big
I wasn't
committee-
here.
A committee was going to
formed,
be
yeah.
formed, so
Okay.
that'll have to be done soon, since January's coming up.
Yep.
Yeah, you wanna have the committee in place long before we have to start doing events.
Exactly, so.
Okay, great idea. All right, so the very last section is our fiscal, which these are pretty well, these are the interest. Are you on the right? Yep, everybody, last page?
Last page.
Yep. So the first section, these are debentures, so our loans for the fire station. This is the Hamwell Fire Station. And for here, so this is the interest that we pay each year. And we have those figures for the next 20 years, so I always know what the budget amounts will be. The next section is the principal amounts on those. And once again, those are set rates. Capital leasing arrangement, this is the province. We had one fire truck that still had a lease through RBC. So they didn't transfer that truck to us because then we would have had to stop that loan, start up a new one, and the interest rates were a lot higher at the time than what the province had that locked in. So they said for the $30,000, it was the last year for the payment or whatever. So they just said that we would pay it off and then they'll transfer the truck. So that's all paid off. The next is our bank service charges. So we budgeted 13, I think we're actually gonna come in about $1,500. So these are our charges, ourselves on our bank accounts, we do not get charged any service charges at all. This is more or less the fees that are associated with the debit machines, using them. So the transfer to capital reserves, so we budgeted $130,000. When we took over the fire services, we figured that we should get into the habit of transferring $130,000 for a fire truck every year and budget for that. Fire trucks are coming in anywhere between $750,000 and $1 million. So we've got a few fire trucks that are coming up that Chief Crow said are going to have to be replaced. So the more money we can kind of put aside. So any funds that are ever left over from the fire budget, we'll put those aside and we'll kind of earmark them for fire trucks and bunker gear and stuff like that. So that transfer will be done at the end of the year. So then the deficit from the second previous year, so we always either have a deficit or a surplus, obviously. So our surplus, and we always have to do it the second previous year. So if we have a surplus that year, then obviously it goes into our revenue and deficit. So a couple of years ago it was $26,530. Last year I think I was off $658 in our budget or whatever. So I've got to look to see what the exact figure is, and that's why I've got in the 2024 highlighted in orange. So the general capital fund expenses, so $75,000 we had budgeted for a 3/4 ton truck for the fire department. And this is what Chief Kraus was talking about today, that he's thinking of, I think this is the one, Councillor Kraus, that he wanted to put the box on the back of it. Is this the one?
Yeah, that's our rescue too there at Station 2, so the hand wall. The box was rusted pretty well off it, like most half tons, so, and everything else on the truck is still relatively good. It's only got maybe 100,000 on it, something like that, so it's worth kind of keeping investing into for now.
Okay.
Because like you said, we probably got 2 trucks, 3 trucks within the next 5 years to replace probably. Something like that, like it's not far away. So, you know, if we can save somewhere else and keep something that, you know, might help us down the road to get what we need.
Right. Okay. So they had thought about buying a truck, and we budgeted for it. However, they weren't able to do it. So for the new councillors, anytime we have any money left over at the end of the year, we transfer that to our capital reserve account. It's like a savings account, and it can only be used for capital items kind of thing. So the next one was $15,000. That was for the parking lot expansion. We just awarded that tender, so those that invoice will be paid out of there. So that leaves us with $74,000 surplus. No, it won't.
Because of the fire truck.
Because of the truck, for the 3/4 ton, that should, I'll do that transfer between November and December for that and put that over in capital reserve. So actually we're pretty well at zero. See what I mean? Sorry, I should have caught that. So we have right around $744,000 surplus by the time we finish everything. Actually, 74,000 of it will come off.
So you're looking at, yeah. $675.
So, but we'll say around 600 and some thousand, which is a huge amount of money. So I was talking to our buildings officer today. He had suggested if we had money left, it would be good to get a cap for the truck. Possibly a bed liner.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't have a bed liner yet?
No,
No.
Not much shorter.
We just bought that Skidoo, so that could be taken from this. And then Dan has suggested another side-by-side. He said that we had talked about maybe fixing this one up and then selling it and buying another one. Or he said maybe it would be good if we could keep this side-by-side for if we needed to take people out on the trail, if,
Like just people and stuff using as a utility.
as a utility.
And there is also the park and everything too, I mean, we're going to, as we're getting bigger, we need to have more equipment. And if it's
Right.
still, if it's still fixable and good enough for something else.
So my question was, that's wonderful, where are we gonna put this stuff?
we're not place to put it.
So,
Storage building
The new
soon.
storage building.
but that, if we're gonna happen to get this stuff like before December 31st,
Yeah.
kind of thing, so
Station
he
3.
said
Yeah,
that
we could do
we don't
that.
have room at Station
Oh,
3.
we don't.
Really?
What are we talking about storing? I mean, the cap for the truck and the bed line is gonna be on the
A
truck.
truck.
And it's gonna be theirs. but
Your
he's
Skidoo, like if we bought another side-by-side,
But the Skidoo should be going, because
Yeah.
We
wanna
actually-
dispose of the Skidoo that we have and
Yeah.
replace it, so that's no more
we sold the
storage.
Skidoo today,
Yeah,
Cool.
there you go.
Okay, great.
or whatever, so,
I have room in my other, on the side in the garage if you need to store the side by side. I'm close enough that if you needed it, you could just.
right. And then Dan suggested like maybe until we got the storage building, could we get another sea can and just put right there where the storage building is gonna go, just to use
Or
as,
you could put it right beside the other
Well,
one.
there's
Tell
that,
the other one, yeah.
or whatever.
Mary,
Yes,
What
um,
about the sea can?
once the metal gets put on the backside of the community center, that sea can be freed up for that if he wants. And, cause I originally got it before the changeover to have it at the community park out here. But I mean, if we need it, then we need it out there. But don't forget, we still got Station 3.
well, see, we don't have a whole lot of room because we have all the, wood and stuff coming for the BMX trail and all that's gotta be stored in there.
Yeah, but check with the chief and see. I think there's still only one truck sitting down there, and because the other one, the capital district loaner we haven't had there for I bet you 6 months. So I mean, if that's not coming back anytime soon, then there's storage in there too.
Okay,
So just check with him and see if he's heard anything about it. But that way, if it isn't coming back for quite a while, then we can utilize it ourselves.
okay.
Any idea, Lee, on the million-plus sandbags we have down there? I hear they do expire, and they're taking up a whole bag.
Well, that's all local government, so I would imagine that's probably quite a hotel or condo unit for Mike's down there right at a good point.
But if they're gonna get rid of them, that's gonna, that'll free up space.
They've been there for probably 3 years now.
Yeah. Somebody actually told me there's an expiry date on them, so they were close to expiring or have expired. Go figure,
Yeah.
a sandbag with an expiry date.
We
but
can
I
make
mean,
it,
Well,
we
the
can go
bags
around.
might just get rotted
Yeah,
away,
just
so that
yeah.
you wouldn't be able to toss them or.
Yeah, exactly.
So would it be good saying that if it was expired that we could use like in a volleyball court or anything like that?
Sandbags.
Just bags.
Oh, it's just the bags. There's no
Yeah.
sand
Oh,
in
no,
there.
just bags.
Just empty bags.
Make your own beach.
Well, that's what I was thinking of. We're gonna have like a
I want a beach.
Hanwell Beach Resort or something.
I was thinking we could have had a beautiful beach party in the parking lot.
Well, we could have a sandbag party.
You know, that's
We want to
You
see
could,
it.
you could have a sandbagging party and then have it.
Yeah, get right on that, would you?
Okay, I will call local government and see.
What the story is on their sandbags.
Well, how full is E&O? Is the other thing. Because if they're not gonna use that entire space, then we might be able to, kind of take part of it too. But it would just have to be something that we're not gonna get for a while, because they're not gonna want people in and out of their unit either,
Right.
so.
Yeah, because if we're gonna do that, then we've got to be careful, because then we're gonna have to change our revenue when we're
Exactly.
thinking about
Right.
charging rent, right? If we're kicking out our,
But the big revenue is in the office, not in the storage.
so.
Storage space is still pretty cheap.
Okay, so, it's scary that we have that much money left. However, a good chunk of it is the fire departments, which they will want to transfer those funds over towards their fire trucks and stuff. But, considering we just kind of heard
Well, we also.
Councillor Crowe say that they've got 3 or 4 or 5 vehicles that are going to need to be replaced soon. It might not be a bad idea if this year, if we do transfer those funds and have it, because you never know when you never know when truck's going to be in an accident, or, you know, go to a fire and it catches on fire kind of
We'll have
thing,
insurance
like,
claim then, though, right?
but,
Well, it's nice if we gotta buy a new one, I mean, it's gonna be costly, if we can put money over in our capital reserve over and above what we plan to, that's gonna save us from borrowing down the road.
yeah,
right.
It's
yeah,
almost a whole truck, because we already had
The
350
issue,
budgeted.
the issue right now is too, is that we have to pretty much go to quad cab trucks, and they are some hard to find right now, so. Just because we can't ride in the back of the rescue one, because we're not allowed, because it's not CSA approved and all that.
okay,
For rollover testing, so basically, only 2 people can go in that truck. There's only 2 people that can go in our engine one. There's 5 people that can go in pump 1. There's 5 people that can go in pump 2. And yeah, so the reason they're looking at quad cabs, it takes the personal vehicles away from the scene, and then the truck goes full with 5 people or 4 people.
Would it be more economical for us to buy the fire department, say, a van or something, like, so that more people could go in?
Well, that's what that rescue too, that we're gonna put that utility box on.
Mm-hmm.
Bought another truck, because we do have like an out-of-town truck with one at Station 1, which takes 5 people, so if we have to go to Harvey or Fredericton or Ormond, so we take 5 people in it and go. The little rescue truck, the F-550 with a pump on it, that takes 4 people. We usually send it. So we've got more than enough that way. So, I mean, just that, I know he was looking for quad cabs just for replacement, just because it makes it easier to move people around.
Okay,
Well, I know, like, Ormocto I'll use Ormocto as an example. They had a minivan for a few years, but even then, you can't get very many people in there when they got all their stuff on, or they're trying to bring all their stuff, like
right,
their internet gear. So,
okay.
But I think it's still a good idea to put some extra money over there in our reserve.
Too.
And I know that Chief Crowe said that he's going to order a few units of bunker gear too, so that will take down this amount. They're close to, I think he said $4,000.
yeah, and they usually generally we purchase about 5 sets.
Right, so,
And so yeah, I mean, boots are pretty near about $400 alone.
mm-hmm,
Gloves are anywhere from $150 to $250.
not crazy.
So, yeah, they're ruining $5,000. So,
Okay,
that's about that.
all right. Well, we certainly,
Did
Got
anybody ever
funds.
check on eBay?
I saw some at Value Village the other day.
I have a question,
Yes.
to the recreation master plan. Has that been budgeted for 2024?
No, because you guys were going to apply for a grant
But it
for,
wouldn't give you, it's not, it wouldn't be full, it's only 40%, right? Even if you got the emergency.
okay.
And that's the kind of thing that we need to know, like, sooner rather than later, if we're gonna have to budget something for next year, if somebody can think of something that was missed, something such as that.
Yeah.
That's a-
Do we have, so, like, I noticed you're budgeting for more students, but are we guaranteed those students?
Have we what?
Seed, or are we guaranteed those students from seed?
No, but we usually always get, so I always budget for them, and then if we end up getting canned summer jobs and seeds, then that just kind of offsets.
Okay, so
That
that
amount.
was my question,
Yeah.
are you budgeting for them in case we don't?
Yes, yeah.
Perfect.
The other question might be too, I know, are we going to budget for a part-time cleaner, helper, for special events? Not necessarily somebody all the time, but for example, was it after Spook Fest that you wanted people to help clean because there was an event going on the next day? I think it was the election.
It was the election.
Just say, but things like that, like is there, that's something we want to look
Well,
at?
I've
I don't
put
know.
in a cleaner,
Yeah, for a full-time cleaner.
Yeah,
I don't know if we need a
because-
full-time, but-
Dan has voiced where he would like to have somebody. So I've kind of asked him, like, you know, if I take away the cleaning from you, that is, you know, like 60% of your job, 70% of your job. So then what are you going to do? And he was like, but then he said, I don't really need that as much. He said, but I need somebody to kind of help me. And I said, it's really hard to hire somebody for 10, 15 hours and say, this is what you're going to do. And we might not have any rentals that week, right?
Better for casual then?
So it's kind of
Start
a, so I've been trying to get him to let me know like when he thinks that he needs to have people, and it's a really hard position because if I take away from his position, how do I give staff a full-time position if I'm taking a big chunk of it away, right? However, I really think that we do need a cleaning person to come in. It's really hard when he has the same hours as us kind of thing, because then, you know, he's scrubbing floors and we're walking through them kind of thing, and it's,
So is it possible to get somebody sort of like, for lack of a better word, because I don't know what the word would be, but sort of like a retainer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that if like we have somebody with a company, probably a cleaning company, and we let them know that we're looking to keep them, but they would need to respond quickly and to delete it, there must be some,
Yeah.
I know it's not easy, but there must be some way that we could maybe arrange that so that when we do, and we'd know in advance, so Spook Fest is a great example, right? So we'd know, you know, we'd know a little bit in advance that we'd need somebody to come in that night and clean it up afterwards.
right. And it's not as much like calling a cleaning company to come in and clean is one thing. Calling a cleaning company and saying, oh, okay, well, we've got a rental tomorrow, so you've got to take down tables and chairs and wash the laundry and all of that stuff.
Right,
That is
yeah,
where
yeah.
we're
And
kind of
that's what-
struggling.
That's where I wonder if there's not
With?
some semi-retired, retired person, or, I'm just, so maybe like full disclosure, so I have a job where I work a certain number of hours a week, but I'm thinking this wouldn't necessarily be that, but I set my own hours, I
Right.
work when there's work to be done, and I don't work when there's not work to be done, right? And so,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's some
And that's kind of
guy
where,
like me out there who,
Yeah.
who wants to do this kind of work.
and that's where Dan and I've kind of been talking to see if we can kind of figure out, like, is it better that we've got somebody that's coming in nighttime and doing stuff, or is it better to have them coming in during the day, or,
But I think if you just advertise it, because you'd be surprised, like, some people like the flexibility and just advertise that we're looking for someone, I mean, it's not exactly on an on-call kind of thing, but that there would be some nights and weekends and that sort of thing. And don't schedule their hours, just, you know, because like you say, you do know when there's weddings, you do know when there's events happening. And, you know, you can know a reasonably good time in advance that, you know, when you might need these, when you have all these extra events. And I'm sure you can find people who are flexible, who like to work evenings or
You
nights or
don't want to
weekends.
work full-time,
Yeah,
you want
Right.
to do a little bit
Yeah.
of, you know.
but then it's kind of, once again, like I'm like, if I've hired a staff to do this, and then I'm
But your staff.
taking that away from him or her or whatever, then what are they going to be doing to be able to have a full-time job again?
What if you hired somebody on a part-time basis and say, give them 10 hours a week,
Yeah.
and then find 10 hours a week that they can do? Because that might encompass cleaning, that might encompass trail work, that might encompass mowing the lawn, that might encompass, you know,
Well, that's.
stone or mowing the driveway.
Yeah.
Have that 10-hour person in there that you could actually call in and give them 10 hours worth of work on a weekly basis, and they
Well,
can
you don't have to even
cover a
guarantee
lot of
somebody
things.
a certain amount of hours.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, if you guarantee them 10 hours a
Yeah, but
week,
you don't need to guarantee,
well, you're not gonna get,
Is Dan overworked? No.
it is.
If you look at his reports, definitely, because
He
they're
is.
like 4 pages long, right? So he's definitely doing a lot more stuff than just cleaning and setting up tables.
So, yeah, because, yeah, if you were not taking, I don't think you need to be taking away from him. I think that easily there's enough work for somebody else to come in and do in addition. Like, he can still do a lot of the setup things and do his stuff during the day. And I think where you need help is, like you say, after events or on a weekend or whatever. And because he's also doing a lot of the trail work, and as you see, we're getting more and more parks all the time. So, you know, he may be going up to Kings Clear, he may be doing whatever, taking students here, there, and everywhere. So I don't think it's a matter of taking away any of the cleaning from him. I think it's the fact that some of this cleaning is getting to be too much for him, especially like you say on the evenings, weekends, and after events. And if
Well, we
you,
continue to grow, so.
that's right.
that's why it would be nice to have somebody that you could rely on, you know, and
Yeah.
give them 10 hours a week.
Or
And I'm
whatever.
sure you can find them 10 hours a week to help Dan out and do other odd jobs.
Yeah.
They could be working in Kingsclear, they could be working at station, you know, station.
Depends on who you
3.
hire. Some people only want to clean, some people are not, you know. people
Yeah,
are-
that's right,
We
like,
don't want to hire another jack of all trades.
Yeah, no, we just
Yeah.
want to hire somebody
We
to
need
do
to hire
cleaning.
somebody, like, if we're looking at cleaning, it needs to be somebody who specifically knows what they're doing in cleaning.
Yeah.
yeah,
We don't want to hire somebody who just, it
Well,
needs
if
to
you
be
brought
specific.
somebody in for 10 hours a week just for cleaning, that would probably free up some of Dan's time.
Oh, absolutely.
That would, you know, that would give him
And some people
still,
don't care if they get 10 hours. I mean, they may work, you know, they may be happy to work 3 or 4 hours this week and
Yeah.
12 hours next
15
week,
or 20 hours next week, and you never know. It depends on the person that you find.
right.
Just as a
Okay.
quick side note too to Chris, I didn't direct it, I kind of didn't realize, no, I didn't say that very well. I didn't say, if you look at his report, I kind of just meant like looking generally at his reports.
Yeah.
I don't want to, just didn't think I sounded it very well when I said that. Be sure that
No.
we're not being snarky.
yeah. But I think, like I said, bringing in some kind of a
I think
part-time
a
helper,
part-time person, yeah.
whether to, you know, whether to do 10 hours a week or try to maybe 5 hours this week. How often hard to get somebody for 5 hours this week
Well,
and
no,
12
but,
hours
yeah, it
next
depends on
week?
the person.
Yeah, it wouldn't be worth her gas to come in.
That's the
Well-
thing, right? It has to be something that'd be,
But if you were looking at 10 hours a week, if he's doing 70% of his time cleaning, that's like, you know, probably 25 hours a week cleaning. So if he brought somebody in 10 hours a week cleaning, that would cut his
Yeah.
down to 15 hours a week cleaning. So it would certainly free up a lot of his time.
Oh, for sure. I would
It's just
think.
a thought, that's all,
It's just a
sorry, I was
thought.
just.
Something to think about, yeah.
No,
But
because I actually, we have cleaning in here as budgeted, so.
I think that might
Is
be
his
a,
work schedule Monday to Friday, or is it also inclusive of weekends?
No, it's Monday to Friday, so usually weddings and stuff, we set up on Friday and then he tears down on Monday when he comes back in. Most times. There's been a couple of times where we've got a small event, like on Saturday and then something on Sunday, kind of thing, like
Craft show.
craft
For
store.
example.
Yes, kind of thing, so then he flexes his hours, so he wouldn't come in on Wednesday or whenever he decides he wants the day off.
Yeah, he's very accommodating with his schedule, that's for sure.
Do we have many weddings?
Yes.
We're booked for usually a year in advance.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we booked all the time. And we get a lot of government meetings through the week.
And
Stuff.
other parties, like there's anniversary parties, there's birthday parties, and some of these birthday parties are huge, especially when you're looking at some of the people coming in from other countries. But they'll have
200 people.
200 people for a 16-year, a birthday party for a 16-year-old.
Oh, they just had 100 for a 1-year-old.
It's just like something another customer. Yeah, Candace, you had a question?
I just have a comment question. At what point do you want us to like tell you things that we've thought of to spend money on? Not that I have that many.
Anytime. So on the 7th, on your sheets, I said that we would do the inauguration at 6, and then we do a special meeting, which was going to be the budget on Tuesday afterwards. And then on Wednesday, I've got it again. So I'm wondering if maybe we should do the special meeting, but just do those tenders and stuff that we're going to do. Have you guys officially as counselors kind of thing, and then just be done and have a very short meeting, and then Wednesday have our budget meeting. That gives me an extra night to make sure that everything is.
Was it 6 or 6:30? I had it down at 6:30.
I've got it here as the inauguration at 6 and special meeting at 7.
Yeah, it was 6.
But 6 is hard to make, we can move it to 6:30.
Yeah, 6:30.
No, the 6th, I thought it was moved to the 7th.
It
I thought
is
tonight's was
the
7.
7th.
Oh, okay,
At 6
sorry,
o'clock.
wait.
The 7th
Yeah.
at 6.
I have it at 6 too.
Yeah,
You have it at 6?
Yeah.
for the inauguration.
Interesting. Oh, you're right. I do have it at 6.
Yeah,
Getting late, that's how
Yeah.
it's almost time to pack her up.
yeah.
Excuse me for one moment.
I have it right here.
So yeah, if you're okay, we'll just do just the special meeting,
7th, at 6.
I don't have anything in here.
and it will just be a short.
Do inauguration
A short
and
meeting.
tenders?
That's all
Yeah.
we're gonna do on the 7th?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the 8th you'll have.
Okay, and then on the
Instead of having
8th at
our-
7 o'clock, we'll have
Instead
a
of
budget.
Instead of info, it's budget.
Should we do it
Yes.
this afternoon during this meeting? Because this is all going on the recording. It doesn't really matter, I suppose.
And no, it doesn't matter. And then on the 9th, I'd like to just go over the 5-year capital plan, just so that we have an idea of what we have spent so far and where we want to go with that.
I have another question on this stuff before we move away from it.
Yeah.
Where's the storage building in here?
This.
Like, is it going to be all out of 2023?
Nope, the storage building, I figured that you guys would probably be taking out of, the capital reserves.
Yeah,
And,
reserves or capital building fund.
and then we also have it in the, capital, the gas tax, the capital
Capital.
building
Community
fund, yeah,
fund. Okay. So, but it's 2024.
2024.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's no way,
Yeah,
like,
like-
there's,
But the tender's gonna go out.
maybe after the budgets and all of that stuff.
Yeah, we were gonna push that till.
We were gonna
almost
push
December,
it,
that was-
yeah.
Because there was just too much going on.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
just trying to
like,
clarify everything.
yeah, Sherry and I just don't have the hours to,
There's still lots of,
Do
can't go
it.
before spring any of the ground before all this, so it's not gonna matter.
yeah.
Here, I'm
'Cause-
just trying to get caught up with everything.
Sure.
It's gonna take a while.
Nope.
I did notice that we had some staging around a particular building. as I came
Yes.
in. Has there been any discussion as to what might be going on with that particular building next year, or?
No, so with the recreation building, our little church, so they have, a motion was passed for them to fix the windows and the doors and paint and stuff like that. It looks so much better. They've fixed the back wall and put the siding on that. So then we will all have to sit down and figure out like what we want done with that building or whatever. Mr. DeMerchant said that he would be interested in giving us a design and stuff like that, and or whatever. So we'll just wait and we'll have a meeting, decide what we want, and then
We already paid for a study for the design.
Yeah,
didn't we?
we're,
Yep.
yeah, we're just kind of reviewing that.
Yep.
the
Yeah.
design
Yeah, I
that
think
before,
everybody,
looking at new ideas.
now that we've got new counselors, everybody, we should have a meeting to decide all together on that.
What's being done there is just to preserve it, so it doesn't deteriorate any further,
Exactly.
because
Yes.
it's been sitting there and nothing being done with it, and like the window's getting broke, the door's getting broke. So it's just a matter of kind of maintain what we have
Nice
before
coat
it's
of paint,
gone.
protects it from the,
Yeah.
from the weather,
Yeah.
Just exactly.
and does make it a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to decorate it for Christmas.
Terry, one question on the capital reserve, how much money is sitting in there now before,
We've got about 643, maybe 648, something like that. Yep. So any other questions? If you, especially for the new counselors, if you guys go over this and you have any questions, you want to reach out to me, give me a call. We can always set up a Zoom. If I'm not able to meet with you through the day, we can always set up a Zoom meeting and I can do it from home. Or whatever, so. Okay, so inauguration, there will be a little ceremony. We'll have sweets and different stuff for that, and then we'll just have our special meeting. It will be, most of it will be closed because we'll be talking about tenders, so. Okay. That is it for me.
It's community,
No, but just.
adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.